Ashley, and today we are going to go over Annie's birth story. But before we get into it, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell to become part of the family. And if you like our content, definitely share with your friends and family. It helps our channel and our family grow. With that said, today marks Annie's 4th birthday, and we can't believe that she is 4 years old today. And so what better way to celebrate her birth than to tell you guys how it went down and share a couple of the memories and moments from that day. So with that said, let's just get into it. It's kind of a long story. So first, the day before her birthday, we went on our walk around our neighborhood, and we were still living in California at the time. So we were still living in California. We were around family members, and we just, had a normal day. We went on our walk because we were trying to get labor starting and everything like that. And then we went to our nephew's basketball game. And so we cheered them on and just hung out with some of Jason's family that day. And then that night we had dinner, and then I remember having a little bit of potato chips before I went to bed. When we got home, we finished watching the first season of 13 Reasons Why. I will never forget, we literally finished the first season that night. And then around 11 o'clock we went to bed like normal. And this was Saturday. So Sunday rolls around. It's around 2:15 in the morning, and I have the urge to go to the bathroom. And you mamas out there know that when you're pregnant, it doesn't shock you that you wake up in the middle of the night having to go pee. So I went to the bathroom like I normally did, and Jason was asleep, sound asleep. Once I got into the bathroom, I sat down and a gush of water just fell out, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was kind of confused, kind of taken back by it, but it just felt weird. It wasn't like normal going to the bathroom. It was something that I had never experienced before. So I was really confused, and I stood up, and once I stood up, there was still water coming out. So I was like, oh crap, is this it? I don't know. I wasn't experiencing any pain or any discomfort other than the fact that I was 39 weeks and 6 days pregnant the day before my due date with Annie. I cleaned myself up, put some toilet paper to cover up all the water, and then I went into the room. I then woke up Jason, and he was very dazed and confused and super half asleep, to the point where he thought that I was dreaming after I told him that I thought my water broke. And he was like, Ashley, just lay down, go back to sleep, you're fine, he thought because my pants weren't wet that nothing happened. And I was like, it happened in the bathroom. I cleaned it up and it didn't get on my pants, So then I was near the bed, and then I went towards the doorway to figure out what to do if I was actually freaking myself out for no reason. And the second part just gushed all over the front of the door, or the doorway. And you should have saw him. He went from the most druggiest, sleepiest person to the most oh crap, it's happening. We need to, get our stuff together. We need to call people to see what they think and stuff like that, because this is just really weird, and it's our first time being parents, so we did not know what to expect. After that, because at the time Jason's mom lived with us, so we told her that we were just gonna probably just go to the hospital and see, get myself checked out. We called my mom, I think Jason called his dad. I called my sister-in-law, Jason's sister, to ask her, because I forgot if she had her water had broken or anything like that, which it didn't. They induced her, so it was not that. But she said, call me, like the day before, she's like, call me if anything happens, so we know, and I'll be there as quick as I possibly have to. So, like, knowing that people were on call and they were, you know, waiting by their phones, had their phones off of silent in the middle of the night, waiting for Annie to make her debut was fun. And then, so Jason literally was just in panic mode. He was literally just moving around the house, like literally fast mode, and it was just hilarious. I was sitting on the bed, not feeling anything, no contractions, nothing. I felt fine and calm for the moment. I was starting to get a little nervous. And then so all this happened in about like 45-minute span. So it's about like 3 o'clock now. And we put some towels in the car, and we still have that car. It was the silver Corolla we have. And Jason drove like the fastest I've ever seen him drive before, to the hospital, which was about 15 minutes away. And we get there, we sign into the hospital, get checked in, and then we have to go into this other room to make sure that my water broke to be able to stay there. And so I think about 20 minutes passed after they tested to see what fluid actually did break, if it wasn't just, me peeing myself. And sure enough, my water had broke, and they got me into a delivery room. And from there on, we, from around 3:30ish, we, monitored the contractions and everything like that, which is funny enough. When we got there, my parents had already gotten there because they lived 10 minutes from the hospital, and we lived about 15-20 minutes from the hospital, so they already got there. And I'm like, oh geez. So we told them, it might take a while, so why don't you just go back home, and by the time, everything started or anything, they were heading back to church, so it was fine. And so we were there, and the doctor was like, okay, we're going to start you on Pitocin because you're not progressing as fast as we want you to. I think I was only dilated to 1, and they started the Pitocin, and then I started feeling like small contractions here or there, and they, had me flip to each side because, to get things moving. And then around, I want to say around 9:30 is when it started to kick in full force. I was about a 4, and I basically was like, I need something, like the pressure is really bad, like I just need the epidural now. So then the anesthesiologist came in and messed up the epidural. And so he did it twice, and it did not work. The pressure was terrible, and come to find out in a little bit, I'll explain why I had so much pressure. And I had a lot of back pain, like back labor, so it was not comfortable at all. And so after that, so around like 12 o'clock is when things turned for not the worst, but like a curveball. So after the epidural and everything, I was still feeling pressure, still feeling the contractions, so they upped the medication, and the nurse comes in, and she just has this weird, like, concerned face, but she wouldn't tell us anything. So then she got the doctor, and the doctor basically told us, your blood pressure is skyrocketing right now. It was almost 180 or something like that, and it's supposed to be under 130. And the doctor was like, okay, your blood pressure is skyrocketing, the baby's heart rate is not where we want it to. It's going up and down. Your heart rate is going up and down. We need to do a pre-emergency C-section. You're not totally an emergency C-section right now, but it's going to get that way if you continue to progress this way. So then I was like, wait, what? The doctor goes out to, you know, get everything set up, and I quickly look at Jason and I was like, I'm scared. Like, that was like the first thing I can ever like say to him. And he like consoled me and everything. He's like, it's gonna be fine. He texts everyone, you know, change of plans, this is what's happening. You know, Annie's gonna be here in, you know, no time. And then the nurses, literally from that moment, we literally only had like a 2-minute span to like process what's going on. I signed the paperwork for the C-section, and then they gave Jason all of his scrubs and stuff, and then as he's going into the bathroom, without telling him, they wheeled me back to the operating room. And so Jason got out of the bathroom from changing into the scrubs. He was like, what the heck, where is my wife? Like, he went to the nurse's station, and they said, oh, they took her in, you just stay here and they'll come get you. So I guess what they do if you have an emergency C-section and you already have the epidural, they give you more of the epidural. And so they hooked me up to everything. They gave me more to like numb me all over the place. And then, you know, got Jason in and started the C-section. And then around 1:07, Annie was born. And they didn't put her on my chest like they did with Sawyer. They put her over near the weight, and they weighed her. She was 7 pounds, 1 ounce, crying, healthy, heart rate was great, everything looked great. She was 21.5 inches long, and she was just perfect. So they cleaned her up, then they brought her over to me, and I barely remember this part, because during the part where they were getting her out, I kept saying, I'm gonna be sick, like I'm going to throw up, I feel like I'm gonna be sick. I started like feeling like I was gonna fall asleep. And when they put her on me, thank God Jason got footage of mine and hers first reactions to each other, because I wouldn't remember it. I literally don't remember much. But so they told me after I held her that you know, Jason's gonna go into the same room that you were in, or he's gonna go into the nursery with her, and you're going to go into the recovery room, and they're gonna meet you there, okay? So then from after the nurse telling me that to them taking me to the room, I passed out. Like, I literally fell asleep. I literally told the nurse, I'm like, I am really tired, I need to go to sleep. And she's like, yeah, just relax and, you know, close your eyes. And so I fell asleep for like maybe 10 minutes while they were stitching me back up, and they got me into the room. It was not it was fast. Like, it wasn't that of a time difference of when we got reunited again. But after that, they got all the blood out of me after the procedure, and then they had me in the room to recover to monitor me. Gave me some ice chips, had Annie do kangaroo care on me. She breastfed like a champ, like she latched on right away. And then about, I want to say like 2:30, 3 o'clock, then they wheeled me up to the post-delivery room and to recover. And then when we went up there, my family came up. Jason's dad and stepmom came up, his mom came up, and everyone, you know, all the grandparents got to meet her. And it was just mind-boggling. Like, we were that night, after, you know, all of our visitors went home and, you know, we were just there, Annie was cluster feeding every 10 minutes. And we were like, we had no idea what cluster feeding was. The hospital that we had her in, I do have to say the only problem with that hospital, the nurses were nice to an extent, you know, the food was good, but the only thing that I do have to say is they passy shamed us. So they pacifier shamed us. They were like, breast is best, and I'm like, I need her to calm down. Like, we need to, you know, like, I was a first-time mom, had no sleep from the night before, still couldn't move out of the bed, and Jason was passing out and had a hard time sleeping as well, so it was like really hard in that moment. And, you know, with the second time around, we did use the pacifier, and we were like, thank God this thing works. And I wish that I would have done that differently. I would have just given it to her and not listened to the nurses. But first time mom didn't understand, and, you know, didn't know that it was my choice. But anyways, so we, you know, we got through it, and then the next day we did her newborn pictures and like hospital pictures, and more family came over, friends and everyone came over to see her. And then we were told after 2 days that we could go home. And so my parents helped us get all of our belongings together, and we went home, and it was just surreal. Like, the first night being home was so much better than being at the hospital. She slept through, you know, up until her feedings, 3 hours in between. Like, every 3 hours she'd wake up. But she was just the easiest baby. And so, yeah, that was Annie's first 48 hours, basically. Her birth story and, you know, what we went through with her. They did find out that I had early stages of preeclampsia. And it literally started within like the last 2 weeks of my pregnancy, and we didn't know. And so I had preeclampsia with her. So I was going to the doctor's office every week to get my blood pressure checked. I had a blood pressure monitor that I still have and I use sometimes to monitor my blood pressure. But I was on blood pressure medications, I was on iron, and so, but then a couple of weeks later, they took me off of it and I was totally fine. And with Annie's pregnancy, I did gain 47 pounds, so I do have to, you know, blame myself a little bit for the preeclampsia, but, you know, my body did not know what to do. My body, you know, didn't want to do what it was supposed to do, so having the C-section really did save mine and Annie's life, and I wouldn't change that, you know. I would change the fact that I put myself in that position, but then on the other hand, I wouldn't change the experience of having her that way. But with that said, here are a couple of the moments from the day before and Annie's 48 hours of life.
She recognizes your voice.
Hi. You can get in here, Dad. Yeah, go ahead. 8, 9? Yeah.
Sweet baby Annie. Look at those fingers.
Look at long fingers.
Sweet Annie. Yeah, she has like the dark. She has the blonde hair, it looks like.
I told you she was gonna have blonde hair.
Sweet baby Annie. Yeah, she's tired. Long day. She's a good sleeper.
You can eat your fingers. Hey, you can eat your fingers. Annie, it's time to wake up, baby. Annie, honey. Sweet girl. Somebody doesn't want to wake up. Baby. Oh, somebody's stretching now.
I hope you guys enjoyed our story time. You know, it's really hard to just imagine that my little girl is 4 years old. It's just, to think about it, it just mind boggles me. she's my bear. She's my gummy bear. And with that said, remember, family, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell to become part of the family. Until then, have a family-filled day, and we'll talk to you in our next video. See you later.